Today we'll be looking at phrasal verbs of the word bring. Turn to page 1 of Self-Study Kit 4 and we'll go through the first 2 pages together. What's convenient about using phrasal verbs is you don't have to know so many difficult words in order to talk about complicated things. As you can see in our table here, we have listed a number of phrasal verbs for you, but we only have one verb, bring. And we simply pair that up with different prepositions to create different phrasal verbs that can mean totally different things. And since it is the prepositions that keep changing, we know the key to understanding phrasal verb is to understand the prepositions. Let's start with the first 2, in and out. To understand how we use them, imagine a box or a room. You are either on the inside or the outside. To bring something or someone in means you take the someone or something and you go from the outside to the inside. So you have to enter the room or the box in order to be in it. To bring something out is the exact opposite. If you're bringing something out, you move from the inside to the outside. But this time, it is not the physical action, but it means that you produce something and you bring it to the outside for the public. You're making something available to the public. Examples are publishing a book or releasing a musical album. Next, let's look at up and down. Another pair of opposites usually used to talk about levels. When they are used as phrasal verbs, bring up and bring down, each of them carries more than one meaning. But don't worry, because all of them relate to levels. Bring up can mean looking after a child, because you bring all that you know and you take care of the child until he levels up in terms of age, height, and intelligence. Bring up can also mean starting to talk about something, usually in a meeting. Imagine taking a hidden idea and putting it up on a table for others to see and discuss. That's what it means. And finally, bring up can also mean to vomit. Simply imagine having eaten something that is now settling in your stomach, but you're feeling unwell so that it rises up through inside you and comes out of your mouth. That's bringing something up. Now, bring down is easier to understand. If you bring someone down, it means they are originally in a higher position, usually a position of power, like the president. So if you bring them down, you are putting effort in order to take them down from the high position. So it means you make them lose their job and lose the power. Bring down can also simply mean to reduce the level of something, maybe the price or the volume. So you can see there are many different meanings here, but they all relate to levels. Bring round means to make someone become conscious again. Conscious means being awake and aware of what's happening around you. Imagine this. You are hit in the head by a basketball, so you fall to the ground and become unconscious. While you are unconscious, your mind travels everywhere, wanders off far, far away, until someone shakes your shoulder really, really hard, and that force brings your mind back from the trip, and then you wake up. In a way, your mind has just gone on a round trip, leaving your head and back to it again. That's what becoming conscious again means. Bring about means to make something happen. The word about relates to estimation, so it means being near something. To bring about, it's like taking an imagination that is originally very far from reality and making it closer. So what was originally just an idea, it's now closer to reality because it has happened. Therefore, bring about means to make something happen. To understand the phrasal verbs bring forward and bring back, imagine this. You are standing on a road. Where you are standing is the present. Behind you is the past, and in front of you is the future. The further you walk, the older you are. Now let's look at the two phrasal verbs. Bring forward means to make something happen earlier than planned. Imagine the road again. As you look into the future, things that happen later will be further away from you. If you want something to happen earlier, you have to take it and bring it closer, bring it forward to you. That is why, if you want something to happen later, you have to take the event and push it back along the road. Once you push it, it is further down the road, it happens later. On the other hand, bring back means you have walked along the road in the past already, but you may have passed something. If you want to remind yourself of those things, you have to look back, go back down the road, and pick them up. That's why bring back means to recall things from the past. And finally, bring back can also have a very literal meaning. That just means to return to a place holding something. Turn to page 2 and let's see if the pictures can help you remember the meaning of the phrasal verbs. The first one has been done for you. The banner of a government has been broken. It's a symbol of how the government has been taken down from the position of power. Another way to say this is bring down. Question 2. Someone is waking up on the ground while the other person is fanning him and helping him wake up. Another way to describe the helper would be bring round. Question 3. Someone is vomiting. Another way to say vomit is bring up. Question 4. A cat is entering the house holding a mouse. It is going from the outside to the inside. We can also say that the action is bring in. Question 5. A meeting originally scheduled on the 23rd will now take place on the 20th. The event is happening earlier. Another way to say this is bring forward. Question 6. Prices are becoming lower, and this kind of decrease may also be described as bring down. Question 7. At a committee meeting, someone proposes a matter for the others to discuss. This kind of proposal can be described as bring up. Question 8. A dog has stolen a lady's sausages, so she's shouting for it to return and bring them back. Question 9. A woman is reading a book titled How to Raise the Perfect Child. Now we know there's no perfect child, but we can tell that the lady is trying to do the right thing, find ways to raise a child. To raise a child can also be called bring up. Question 10. When someone hears music and remembers something from the past, from the youth and childhood, they are bringing back memories. Question 11. A man is looking at new albums on the shelf. New albums meaning they are just released. Release can also be called bring out. Finally, Question 12. In a pod labeled war, it is releasing things like jealousy, pride, and poverty. It means war is the reason that these things happen. If war is the reason, there's another way to describe the relationship, that is, bring about. Before you pause the video to check your answers, I would like to bring 4 questions to your attention. First of all, question 3. Although there is no context telling us whether the meeting is going to happen earlier or later than planned, we do know that if the meeting were to happen later, the phrase we should use is push back. And since we're using phrasal verbs of bring, the answer can only be forward, which means the meeting is going to happen earlier. Next, question 8. Again, there is no context telling us whether the dog has created a mess on the inside or the outside of her house. But we can assume that if someone is complaining about the mess, it most likely happened indoors and is affecting others. Don't worry, exam questions are not going to be based on assumptions, and we will give you enough clues. Question 9. If you are able to buy a car after a change in taxes, the change must be about paying less taxes to the government. So, the change must be a lower percentage or a lower tax rate, which means the number has been brought down. Finally, question 10. Troops are soldiers, armies, and they usually stand guard outside the borders of a city. If they are intervening with something within the city, they must have been brought in, past the borders of the city, in order to perform their duties. Now you may pause the video and check your answers.